Why is that so dark? Oh, that's better. All right. Put that on the floor. All right. Hey, Garth. Hey, Jamel. Hey, guys, let's do a mic check real quick. Can you guys hear me okay? Moses, Christian, what's going on? I don't know, man. There's a whole lot to talk about, Jamel. I'm still a little salty about what happened with Cressida, but we'll get into that. Hey, Thirsty Nightmare. All right, guys, we're up and running, but we're a little ahead of schedule. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have any kind of technical snafus, man. Man, you know what? Now that I think about it, like this has been a big week, man. Like we've had this, and I don't know how many of you guys saw Endgame, but there's that. So a lot going on, and then the Battle of Winterfell, man. Hey, Envy. I never know if I'm pronouncing that name right, man. NVI, and I think you may have told me how to pronounce it too. Flying Dutchman. Hey guys. Eileen. All right. Welcome. All right, guys, we're gonna still hold out. I'm gonna try and wait till it's close to the 9 o'clock hour because that's the time that we said we were going to post. But so Eddie, we're going to talk about Warrior, man. We'll get into Warrior because I'm really digging Warrior. Actually, the more I see it, the more I like it. And I haven't posted the video for Warrior yet that does make another comparison between Into the Badlands and Warrior. But I did see episode 4 of Warrior, which was freaking great. But it did make me think about the difference between Warrior and ITB. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We can talk about it here tonight if you want, but I am going to post a video out with my review of episode 4 of Warrior. And in that, I do get into a little bit about the comparisons between the two. So, hey, Joshua. Oh, incidentally, let me say, man, like if you guys see that eye twitching right there, my allergies are acting up. So it's not like I'm mad about anything. It's just twitching. I can't really stop it. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Christian. Yeah. You know what? That whole piece about the gun, during the interview that we had with Sherman, he mentioned a big spoiler. And at the time, I couldn't say what it was, but that was like the big spoiler, that gun at the end. Yeah, allergies suck. You telling me. It's really bad. Garth, all right, you're saying so. What do I think about Into the Badlands TV deal is going? So, Garth? Are you saying like what's next? What's coming? Hey, Joshua. Oh, no worries. You know what, man? We're going to get into that to find out like what's coming next. That's the big question, right? With this being the final episode on AMC, what is the next step for ITB? And I've heard some things, so I'll share with you what I've heard. I'm hoping that Jin Han jumps on. He's been doing a lot of stuff with the initiative to save the show, so he might have some stuff to share as well. He did share some stuff with me on Twitter. So I'm going to make a video about some of the efforts that are ongoing. But what I will say about this, before we get into like what I've heard, is that the effort is still ongoing. So I want to make sure that we all understand that just because this was the final episode on AMC does not mean that we are done making the big push, because that's just kind of the way it works. The show leaves a network and people push and then it gets picked up, but it doesn't get picked up like in the next month. It takes some time for them to work out the logistics and all that kind of good stuff. So I will say that now would almost seem like the natural time to kind of take your foot off the gas, because you would expect to hear something by this point about what's coming. But from what I understand, it typically doesn't work that way. Normally there's some time that goes by between when the show leaves the network and when another one picks it up. So now is the time to actually keep your foot on the gas. And the fan base for ITB is definitely there. All right, we have a lot of folks jumped in. Tish, Negan, hey, what's up, everybody? Sigby in the house. All right, guys. All right, Cobra. I see you, buddy. All right. Okay, guys, so let's get started. You know what? The first thing I want to do is this, man. I just want to start by giving a shout out to everybody who worked on this show. I mean, if you guys have seen any of the kind of the behind the scenes footage that AMC will post or that Daniel might post on Twitter or really on Instagram, that's where he is mostly. Man, like these cats work phenomenally hard on this show. So the first thing I want to say before we get into any show kind of particulars or even this final episode is thank you to them, right? Because man, they've given us something that is phenomenal, and there is no other show like it on TV. And yes, that does include Warrior. There's nothing that's like ITB. So I just want to thank these guys for the effort that they gave us, and especially the folks behind the camera, right? I mean, we always focus so much on the actors who are phenomenal, but the stunt people who are really literally getting like the crap beat out of them. And then the folks who are doing the technical stuff, the cameraman, all those folks, man, shout out to everybody, the costume designers, all those folks, the makeup artists, everybody, man, that's just giving us a phenomenal show. All right, guys. Okay, guys, so I want to just talk about my thoughts about this final episode, which I was happy with it. I thought it was pretty epic. I was thrown for a loop, especially with Sonny and his gift. We'll get to that in a second, but I was pretty happy the way that things went down. I think that it was pretty climactic. I was surprised. Initially, I was surprised at what happened with Tilda. I thought they were going to take her out, but it turns out now, right, that she might live. But on the whole, man, I thought it was a really good episode. I'm curious to know what you guys thought about this. Was it the episode that you were looking for a finale? Wait, Joseph said, I'm glad that Moon didn't get, sorry, man, didn't get a whole, why, Joseph? You didn't want Cressa to go down? Yeah, I was glad everyone survived too, because I thought for sure some people were going to go. I thought the Sunny sister was definitely going to go too. Where are my glasses, man? Like I can't even see. They're around here somewhere. Someone please tell me, how was Sunny able to block Pilgrim's punch without the gift? So that's a good question, right? You know what? I'm gonna say that because I do have a question about Sunny's gift. That's a good question. Cobra said TV magic. Well, right, there is that. So I'm curious about this. So what did you guys think about the story and kind of how they ended things with MK? I know people were happy to see him get it. I was happy to see him get it as well. But is there anybody that felt for the brother? Because you know he had at least a moment of redemption, and I feel that way because he dropped his weapons when he stabbed Tilda. So at that point, I feel like it could have been a turning point for him. It could have really been one of those things where he got himself together. I mean, he didn't really get the chance to do so because of what the widow did. But I'm curious to know, like, what you guys feel about that. Do you feel like he should have been saved? You feel like he shouldn't have been saved? Well, MB says, die, MK, die. You know what? So Terry said he's coming back. There's no way, Terry. There's no way. I could see if he got stabbed or something like that, because we've seen folks get stabbed and like mortally stabbed, right? And then survive to have the gift. But the explosion, man, if he comes out of that explosion, then he's like Dany from Game of Thrones. I don't see him coming back from that. I think he's done. Yeah, I think I kind of feel like he got what he deserved too. You know, I'm happy to see him go. All the dirt that he did, I didn't really have much compassion for the brother, but I don't think so, Moses. Moses said maybe he's the one the master is talking about. I think actually what the master was talking about was the gun. That's what I think. I think that the follower, I can't remember dude's name. Somebody remind me. Of Pilgrim that found that gun. That's what I think the master was talking about. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. So Ron is asking about season 4 news. So let's tackle that now, and I'll share with you what I know of. And keep in mind, I'm just one source. There are other folks that are actually doing more work on this, much more work than I am behind the scenes. So I have not heard anything definitive. From what I understand, I think that the show has been pitched to some networks, but I don't know that the networks have been that receptive. I'm hoping that when I'm going to do another video, because Jen Han, who has done a lot of work on the show behind the scenes, and he's part of the community as well, has given me some information on Twitter. So I got to put that together. And once I do, I'll make a video about that. But I haven't heard anything definitive, and I haven't heard any like direct messaging from Sherman Augustus or Daniel Wu. I don't know that they even could share that with me if they knew something, but I haven't heard anything definitive. I do know this, that there has been a lot of press. So the show is getting a lot of coverage. I actually have some of the stuff up over here. So let me just kind of go over and share with you guys some of the things that some of the folks that have covered it. So it's been covered by Screen Rant. You know that Hypable is covered it. It's been covered by Sci-Fi TV has covered the show. So there's been like a lot of major outlets, or a lot of major outlet.coms, should I say, that have covered the show. So it's getting press. Like, the fan base for the show is there. The fan base for the show is there. There's no question about that. And I still say, man, so this like gets me in rant mode. It really is a shame what AMC did to this show. And this is not a slight on The Walking Dead. I say that all the time, but it's clear, right, that AMC has hitched their wagon to The Walking Dead. It's clear. And I've said this before, man. I have no doubt in my mind that had they given this show the same press that they gave the show for this last part of season 3, there's no way in the world that the fan base wouldn't have grown for this show. So I know that there's some people in the community that don't agree with me, but I reject the notion that this show is dead because of lack of viewership. They didn't promote the show. I know I sound like a beating drum or a dead drum or whatever that phrase is, but that's really what happened. It's funny. So I've heard a lot of people say that about The Walking Dead, and these are fans of The Walking Dead. A lot of people have said that they feel like the show has really kind of drawn itself out, and now it's getting to the point where they just need to stop, just to kind of let it go. So I've heard a lot of people say that. Like I said, I'm not a big watcher of The Walking Dead, so I feel like I'm not really qualified to jump in and bash it because I haven't really seen it. So, how can I really say? But for those that follow the show, I heard a lot of people say that, like, all right, it's done. Like, let's put it to rest because it's time to let it go. So. All right. So I know there's some folks on here that like the Walking Dead. So, and apparently it still has enough of a fan base to keep it going. But I don't know. All I'm saying is that The Walking Dead is not the only show on AMC. and they certainly could have given Into the Badlands more press than they did. That's all I'm saying about that. So Lamar asked, how do I feel about the guns? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I would pose that question to you guys as well. How do you feel about the guns? I feel like guns are tricky when you have a martial arts show built on the framework, or when you have a show built on the framework of such dynamic martial arts, because you got to do some really good storytelling to have martial arts be able to negate a gun. I mean, in most cases, everybody knows a bullet's going to win over a kick, or nobody punches that fast. So I don't know. I guess it would depend on how they write that. I mean, they could make it work. It really depends on how they do it. You know what movie it makes me think of? I don't know if you guys have seen the movie with oh man, I was just watching it the other day with Christian Bale and Taye Diggs, and it's kind of, and they have like the gun martial arts. Anybody know the name of that? What's the name of that movie? That's right, Equilibrium. Who said that? Sigby. So, I mean, they could kind of do like an Equilibrium type thing. I know it's not the same show, but the way that they kind of use guns in that movie, I could see the Badlands doing something like that. But they got to balance the equation some way. Like you just can't have straight up martial arts versus guns. I mean, everybody knows the outcome of that. So, hey, yeah, The Matrix. I guess you could go that route. That'd be much more sci-fi, though. Oh, so that's a good question. So Ron says, oh, man, how did the widow get her powers back? You know what's funny about that? At first, I thought that there was going to be some link to like the little pedal that the master gave the widow when the master went to, I guess, the in-between world is where she was. And I didn't see anything come out. I didn't see that pedal come out. I didn't see anything like that. I think the widow always had the gift in her, and the gift was triggered by what happened to Tilda, the raise that happened to Tilda, which is interesting to me, right? Because MK has always said that if you really want to master the gift, if you want the gift to be able to come out on command, then think about something that enrages you. And that was a case, right, where she thought about, or she saw what happened, and instantly she was like, oh, no, 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 no. And then boom, we got the gift. So, hey, Anthony, cornbread in the house. Miss Q. All right, what's Kevin saying? Did anyone else notice that Eli did the same? I can't see that. Oh, slice and dice action. Yeah, I noticed that. That Caster did. Yep, the same thing. Actually, MK has done that as well. So, that's a good thought. Who said that about Percival? I think it was Kevin who said that. So what do you guys think about this? This was in the comments of the last video that we put out. Do you think it's possible that Eli could actually be Percival? Eli could be the widow's son. I'm just curious to know what you guys think about that. That's a pretty interesting theory right there. So some people say, so Tish says, yeah, probably. Cobra says, that'd be crazy. But Cobra says, but I'm for it. Who knows where Waldo is, man? Actually, you know what, Sigby, I do know this. So Waldo is working on a couple of different movies. He might be done now, but you guys do know that there's another Avatar coming out. Waldo is in that. So he may have been working on that. And he's also working on Don't Breathe 2, which is coming out. And I want to say this too. This is totally off topic, but I saw Don't Breathe 1. That was one of like the first things I reviewed on my channel, like way back in the day. I thought that was a worst movie ever. Now I know I'm in a minority because people love that film, but I could not stand. I couldn't get past how it is that Stephen Lang, and I know we're off topic, but I'm sorry, someone asked me, where's Waldo? How it is in Don't Breathe that Stephen Lang can do all of this stuff. The guy was like a blind combination of Daredevil and Batman. The movie never sets up that he can do all of these things. They hit the dude over the head with a freaking pipe, and he got up and he was fine. They didn't set any of that up in the movie. So I'm like, man, this is crazy. How is it that this guy can do all of this? I did not like Don't Breathe. Anyway, I say all that to say I think he's working on Don't Breathe too. So he's busy doing other stuff. Okay, I'm back on track. Apologies. Oh, you know what? Speaking of Waldo, though, you know the sword that Sonny got, Daniel Wu made reference to that in an interview. He talked about a special weapon that he was going to get to help defeat Pilgrim. So it turns out that that was a sword that Waldo had. I thought it was going to be like a weapon with some kind of, I don't know, enchantment or something on it that helped deal with Pilgrim. But I guess it was just a regular sword that Waldo had. So that was pretty cool. That kind of called back that homage to Waldo, kind of like bringing him into the fight, even though he wasn't really there. So. You missed everything, General. We're done. No, man, we just kind of been hopping all over the place, just talking about different aspects of the show. Oh, guys, let me ask you this. Do you think, I had this discussion the other day, do you think that had Sonny died in that show, or had the widow died, and I mean died, like not coming back, that the show could survive without those two pivotal characters? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about that. All right, so Cobra says no. Bishop says no. Yeah, I don't think so either, but I'm just wondering. Not at all. No, no. Okay. All right. So that's what people think about that. Okay. Yeah, so I feel like those folks are important. The reason I asked that question is there were some theories going around. I'm not sure. I don't know if you said this or not, Kevin, in one of the comments, but that the show potentially could go on with Sonny's son and maybe even the widow's son or daughter. We don't know what it is at that point, and really just kind of grow from there, almost like a second generation of folks in the show. But I don't think that can happen. I mean, I think that there are only a few characters that are really strong enough to carry the show on and be prime characters. And of course, I love all the other folks, but of the two, I think it could happen with the widow. I think that the show could survive the death of Sonny, believe it or not, because there's so much love for the widow and there's so much interest in her character. And her character build is really interesting that she probably could carry the show on. Of course, the show can go on with Sonny, but if those two go, as much as I love Baji and as much as I love Moon, I don't think they can carry the show by themselves. So I don't think the show is actually even really built to allow them to do something like that. So. Oh, Lamar said that he would love to see a story of Sonny growing up, becoming a Clipper. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting to see kind of how all that works. We got a little bit of that with one of my favorite episodes, Blind Cannibal Assassins, when we get that flashback to Waldo and Sonny when he was young. But it would be interesting to see how all of that works. Yeah, Casey, man, a lot of people were surprised by the gun. A lot of people were. And right at the end, like I said, I have mixed feelings about the gun. I'm not sure, man. I don't know how they can make that work. Like, they'd have to do some really, really good writing to make that work. So. All right. So Garth is asking, will ITV move to Netflix? Absolutely. I have no doubt about that at all. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised within the next month or so, we would get the second half of season 3 in Netflix. If that's what you're asking me, or are you asking me, would the show find a new home on Netflix? I suppose that's possible. I suppose it's possible that it might find a new home on Netflix. I mean, the thing about Netflix and kind of like some of the other big streaming platforms is that they're working on big projects of their own. So I know that Netflix, for example, which I'm super excited about this, is sinking a boatload of money into The Witcher because they're trying to get that Game of Thrones audience when God goes off. The same thing with Amazon. Amazon has spent over $1 billion acquiring the rights and developing the Lord of the Rings series for Amazon as well. So I do know that a lot of platforms have a lot of money tied up in other places. That's not to say that the show can't go there, but I do know that that's happening on a lot of other platforms. So Hulu, yeah. So Hulu's an option. I mean, there are a lot of places that the show can go. There are a lot of networks that can pick the show up, even if they're not streaming networks, like cable networks can pick the show up. So for me, there's two factors, though, that go into that. If you pick the show up, you do have to have the budget to keep the show what it was. And from what I understand, that's one thing. ITV did have a really high budget. It cost a lot to make the show, which is no surprise when you look at it. So the thing is, like, if it goes somewhere, I need the production value to stay up. So that's what I hope, because I need the show to be what it was when it left AMC. So yeah, man, I'm sad about the show too. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I'm I'm a little emotional, man. I feel like these characters have been done so well, and I feel like they've been with me for the last 3 years, and just to see the show end like this is sad, especially knowing that they had hopes that the show would go further. I know that during the interview with Daniel, I can't remember if it was my own interview or if it was the interview the third person did. They said that, Daniel was saying something about the possibility of maybe 8 episodes. We got 3. That's the thing. Like I feel like, excuse me, let me take some water, please. Oh, you know what? There my glasses are. Good, because I'm blind as a bat. The ring light might show in them, but oh, that's so much better. I can see. All right. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel really sad about it. It was funny because my wife last night was like, "You all right?" Yeah, I'm good. It was sad though. It was sad. Hey, Rich, I didn't see you come in. Sigby talking about a bicycle kick. And plus ends too many holes. Yeah, so yeah, I agree, Moses. There were, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would call them holes. Moses was saying there's too many holes in it, because I feel like they answered a lot, but I feel like there's just so much more story to tell. But I suppose some things could be considered holes, like the whole deal with Percival and kind of all that kind of good stuff. And then there were some things actually that happened in this episode too that I'm a little bit curious about. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure what happened with Kaden. Apparently, Pilgrim took her a gift, but it looked to me that at some point she was exercising some form of the gift. I know that her hands glowed when she turned off the gift of one of the dark ones, but that might not be anything because what's my man's name? The leader of the Black Lotus. Somebody tell me his name. What's his name? He did the same thing anyway. Oh, I can't remember his name. That's right, Magnus. So thanks, Cobra. So he did the same thing and he didn't have the gift. But also, I don't know if you guys noticed, when she put those spikes in Pilgrim's back, her hands were glowing as well. So I'm a little bit confused there. Like, what is that? If that's not the gift, I don't know what that is. What is that? Yes, Sonny is still alive, Tish. Yeah, I agree, Rich, man. Like ITB, they definitely needed more. I mean, I said that I really felt like the show was really just starting to stretch its legs. So I mean, there were a lot more characters that, like, I personally would have liked to have seen more of or heard from again. Like, I would have liked to have heard from Nas. I don't know if you guys remember him, the guy that was kind of like running that town where they stole the car and they were headed back to the Badlands. So there's a couple of characters that I'd like to see kind of more happen with? I don't know. That's a good question. Why didn't Kanan show Sonny how to shut the gift down? I don't. That's a good question. Oh wait, what's General saying here? Strong force, and then Sonny's gift must be. Yeah, I would agree with that. You know what? That's a good point. Wait, where is it? So the general was talking about the widow's gift. She was a beast. I mean, man, her gift is crazy powerful. But you know what's interesting about that? I want to know what you guys think about this. It seems to me though that everybody who exercised the gift, and I do mean everybody outside of maybe Kanan and the master for the little bit of time that she had it, they all kind of got consumed by it. I think that happened with the widow. I think that when she killed MK, I think she was in a fit of rage. She said no mercy, but no mercy. But did you guys check out like her face after she came out of the gift? She almost seemed beside herself. She almost seemed sad that she kind of did what she did. That's my take on that. I feel like anybody who possesses the gift in the form of the dark gift, nobody can possess it successfully. It kind of rots them all from the inside out. The only people that we did not see that happen with was the master, and we did not see that happen with Kanan. And both of those folks did not exercise their gift for long periods of time. So I'm just curious to know what you guys think about that. I agree with that. Moses said she saw what the master was talking about. Can you say that the widow is a new master? It'll be interesting to see if they bring the show back if she doesn't inhabit that role. I can see her doing that. And now, especially with the fact that Tilda is still alive, so Tilda might occupy some role that the widow may have occupied if she does turn into the master. I'd like to see that, actually. Hey, Angela. Angela in the house, no worries. Yeah, what about Nyx? I was mad, man, when that happened to Nyx, man. Shoot. I wanted to see Nyx live. I like Nyx. Yeah, that's a good point, Ronan. But you know what? Ronan was saying that he doubts that she's the new master because she doesn't have the same level of wisdom as Ida or the master did. But you know what, Ronan? She could be the new master. I mean, she could kind of just be like the master in grooming, if you will. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of movies where a master will die and the novice essentially takes their place and just kind of comes into that role. So she could do it that way. Not that she has to have kind of like that top knowledge already, but growing into the role. So I can see that happening. Yeah, Angela. Nyx was a beast. Like she was my girl. I loved her every time I saw her on screen. I did say in the video, and probably none of us are surprised, right? Like you knew when she turned around and she told the widow to go that she was going to take on Pilgrim. I mean, everybody was. At least I was like, "Up, that's it. She's done. There's no way in the world she's beating Pilgrim. No way." So. Yeah, I'd like to see that too, man. They were talking about dang guys, I can't pronounce it. All right, I'm saying Kyle, even though Kyle, there's letters before that, but I'm having a hard time pronouncing it, and it's going fast. So Kyle was saying that it would be a cool side mission to see Moon get revenge on Cressida. I really want to see that happen. I don't even care that Cressida has changed her ways. I want to see her head roll. Yeah, like I said in the video, it probably makes me a monster, but man, I the way she did to Lydia was just not right. Just wasn't right. So Yeah, they should have used darts. They should have used something. Oh, let me ask you guys this, because when I did the collab with Third Person, what do you we talked about what the nature of that was that Cressida did. Do you guys think that that was some kind of variation of the gift? My personal thoughts is I don't think it was. I think it was just like straight up witchcraft. She was mumbling some words, the eyes turned red, and then all of a sudden she just became like a martial arts guru. Or do you guys think that that was some form of the gift? Any thoughts? Yeah, she did get her heart broken. I'm glad for it too, Tish. Yeah, and she probably did see it coming too. Yeah, so Pilgrim did say that Cressida was going to get the gift, but she hadn't gotten it yet. I mean, we know from this episode he was trying to get her to get it, and she was rejecting it. That's another reason it makes me think that what she did was kind of along the lines of the blood rain type deal. It was a spell. I said in my last video too. Let me tell you something. You get a witch in front of me that starts mumbling stuff, I am not wasting any time taking her out. If I got a sword, I'm getting across that room as soon as I can, and I'm lopping the head off. And if I have projectiles, I'm filling you full of arrows, stars, or whatever. You know that can't be good. The witch starts mumbling something, you can't understand it. You got to think it's a spell. There's no time for conversation. I'm not giving you any choice of whether you can get it on your knees. You're just gonna get it. That's what's happening if I'm doing that. Yeah, so Joel was talking about Sonny's eyes that didn't go black. You're right. And it's funny because that kind of makes me think that Sonny almost doesn't have the ability to get the dark gift. I think that what we saw with Sonny was his gift. That's what it was. And I don't know. I mean, apparently it's allowing him to kind of mend himself according to what the master said, so that he can return, I guess, to the world of the living. Right now, he's kind of in this in-between spot. But I think the Sonny's gift looked fundamentally different than the dark gift. I think that's why he never got it. So I don't even really know how else to talk about that, because it would have been cool to see if the dark gift really would have elevated his fighting. But I feel like that was just not the part of the gift that Sonny actually was supposed to have. Yeah, that makes sense. So Kyle was saying he thinks that his eyes were yellow because he was actually healing himself. And that could be, I guess that kind of lines up with what the master said as well. So, and Tish says he's not a dark soul. Yeah, that makes sense too. And Locke says Sonny's gift was Super Saiyan. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree, man. So Lamar saying they just can't leave the show here. Someone has to pick it up. I hope that they do. I hope that someone picks it up. I mean, like I said, I know that we'll be able to see old episodes of the show on Netflix. I have no doubt about it. It's like it's trending crazy high on Netflix right now. I really do hope that someone else picks it up. I mean, so I do want to stop and say this again, because some folks have joined us since I mentioned it before. So we still have to keep our foot on the gas. So I know that now you might be thinking, well, the show's over and we haven't heard anything about anybody else picking it up. But now is the time to really put our foot on the gas so the networks can see that the fan base still lives on. And I also said earlier that in most cases, it's not an immediate pickup. So you wouldn't have the show, for example, ending on AMC and then next week it coming up again on Sci-Fi. It just takes time to work out the logistics of all of that. So now is the time where we really have to continue to push and show love to the show on the fan base. I imagine that Nielsen, if they do the ratings for streaming platforms, I don't know, we'll be checking out how the show trends on places like Netflix and things like that. So we still got to keep our foot on the gas. Guys, make sure that if you are here, put your notification bells on. I am looking for some information from Jen Han. Like I said, I don't know if Jen's here yet. I haven't seen him in the chat. he's still doing a lot of heavy stuff behind the scenes, and he's giving me information. So when I get all of that, I'm going to create another video about what's going on, kind of where we are right now and the initiatives that he's putting forward. So there's still a huge fan base for the show, and that's really what it takes. It takes the fan base. No network is going to ignore that. If the fan base is strong enough, they will bring the show back somewhere. Somebody will bring the show back, and it's crazy if they don't, because we still haven't seen anything like it. There's still nothing like it on TV, and we can talk Warrior. As a matter of fact, I do want to talk Warrior in a little bit. That's fine, but Warrior is not Into the Badlands. It's not. It just isn't. There is no show on TV like Into the Badlands. Bottom line. I mean, bottom line. So it's crazy for another network not to pick it up. I just think it's crazy. So we got to keep our foot to the ground and just keep pushing. So yeah, I agree, General. It's funny. I definitely will pick this show up on DVD too. And the thing is, like you guys, I see a ton of movies, a lot of which I don't even actually share on the channel because some of them are out of the channel's focus. But when I buy a movie, I'll buy a movie digitally. I don't really get like the big Blu-ray hauls. You see a lot of YouTubers doing that. I'll buy it digitally. This I gotta have my hands on. I gotta have the hard copy, and I don't do that with a lot of movies. So yeah, like this one has to be in the hands. You got to feel it. Hey, Barack, I think you slipped in and I didn't catch you. Oh, there you are. Jen Han in the house. Did you just get here, man? Yeah, I agree, Angela. Definitely. So now I feel bad because you didn't just get here, Jen, and I've been missing you all this time. So, I mean, you've heard what I've been saying. So the information that you push to me, just let me know when it's all kind of wrapped up, and then I'll share it with the rest of the folks here that might not be on Twitter, so that we can get the word out. Okay. I'm sure it will, Angela. They got to have, like, if they give us a DVD, they got to have outtakes, which are probably hilarious. I'd love to see some outtakes with Nick Frost because he's crazy. So, guys, I want to ask you a question about the different seasons. Now we've seen all of seasons 1, 2, and 3. What is your favorite episode, if you can name it? What's your favorite episode that you would have so far? I'm just curious if you can remember the names of it. That might be a big thing to ask. I'm not sure. Loke, you got it. I'm not sure what you mean there. I see that comment about Into the Badlands and John Wick, but I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, I wish we could have seen Waldo again too. I really do. 13 season 2 was good. Yeah, season 2 was good. Yeah, it's hard to say, Tish. I know. Leopard Snares Rabbit was good. Yep. Sunny versus the Master. 13 of season 3. Sunny and Moon fight. That was good. 13. Quinn versus the Widow. That was amazing. Quinn versus the Widow. Man, I still I still love that fight. Boy, that fight was good. I mean, that fight was so good, not only just for the fight mechanics, like the execution of the martial arts, but just the drama. Those two engaged in that fight. Man, that fight was good. Boy, oh boy. Boy, that was good. Sonny's fight with the Abbotts was really good too. You know what? One of my favorite fight scenes still to this day is the fight scene underground in Blind Cannibal Assassins. I love everything about that. I love the fight mechanics. I love the visual aspect of it. The fact that they were blind, how they shot it. That's one of my favorite fight scenes. The Widow versus everyone. Sonny against the 50 no man. I don't know if it was 50, Daniel. I'm just messing with you, man. But that scene was really good. You know what scene was actually really good too? And so this goes to show you how good this show is. I still have one of the best fight scenes in this show. This is from season 1, episode 1. Was that last fight scene in the rain where Sonny versus the Bowlers. That's where we first meet the Widow. I was like, woo-wee! That, oh man, I still love that fight scene. Despite all we've seen, that thing is amazing to me. Oh, that was the one where they were in the one where Sonny and Baji were handcuffed together is where they were in the Bordeaux mines. That's where he first met Baji. Yeah, Moon did have the best sword in the series. Yeah, his sword was really nice. I wonder if he got I know Sherman said he wanted to try and get that sword. I wonder if he got his hands on it. I'm going to try and ask him and see what he says. Yeah, Octopus Nunchuck with Baji. Boy, that guy is a character. I actually really like that fight scene with Moon and Sunny too when they first met. I like the drama of that scene. Blackheart, White Mountain. Yeah, that was a good scene, Joshua. Man, that rain scene was amazing. Yeah, yep, sure did. D-Train broke the man's sword. I think Pilgrim did that. Wasn't it Pilgrim to snap that sword? I believe so. I don't know, Paris. At this point, we don't know. I mean, we're still trying. There is no, from what I know, there is no definitive word as to whether or not another network is picking up the show. Like I said before, you always have a time gap with that. It's not the case that you're going to get the show picked up from another network and you're going to start seeing ITV again next month. And that's just not the way it works logistically, even if someone else does pick it up. So, oh, wow. Thanks, Tom, for this super chat. So shout out to Aunt Patricia and Aunt Laura who loved the review, and apparently they are big fans of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for being a part of this amazing community. So definitely appreciate it, and we're gonna keep pushing hard, man. Somebody has got to pick this show up. So yeah, it's an amazing show. So guys, let's talk a little bit about Warrior. Are we okay to do that to transition? Because some questions came across about Warrior. Let's see how you guys feel about that. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. All right, so it looks like a couple of you guys have been watching Warrior. I just by show of hands, how many of you guys have actually seen Warrior? I'm just curious. I just want to see in the comments how many of you guys have seen it. Another super chat from Tom. Thank you. It says even Grandpa Norman supports ITB. Man, the show is ageless. Everybody loves it. Woo! We got to get it back. Something has to happen. I think you know what? I'm going to do something. Now, I haven't done any martial arts competitions in a long time, but I don't know, man. Maybe I can go in a street corner and start doing exhibitions with my ITB T-shirt on. I don't know. Yes, indeed. So, man, that's true. Like Cobra, Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. That scene was epic. Sunny versus the Archer was epic, and Cobra just made mention of that. That fight scene was actually really, really good. And not to call back or not to transition to Game of Thrones, but I don't know how many of you guys saw the battle for Winterfell with the Night King, and that move that she pulled on the Night King was the same move that the Archer tried to pull on Sunny with the knife. That was a really, really good fight scene. I agree. So okay, so it looks like so some of you guys have been watching Warrior. So let's talk a little bit about Warrior. So here's the deal, man. And I'm gonna try and get my review for episode 4 of Warrior out tomorrow, and you'll hear a little bit about what I'm gonna share here there because I do make a comparison between the two. Warrior is a good show. It's actually a really good show. I would classify Warrior as much more of probably an action drama, maybe. More so on the drama side. The thing about Warrior is it's different. It's not an ITB. So I tell people all the time, if you ask, will Warrior scratch your ITB itch? Probably not. And I've said before, the thing about Into the Badlands for me, and I think the reason that I love the show so much is because it checks all of my boxes. You guys might remember me talking about this in another video. It checks the sci-fi box. It checks the action adventure box. And it checks the fantasy box. It has all of those elements perfectly balanced to give us an amazing show. And I think that that's why I really love this show so much. It checks all those boxes, and then all the other elements like the acting, the performances, the martial arts execution, all that stuff is on point. So it gives us, it's like the trifecta. It gives us all three. Warrior does not do that. Warrior gives you really good drama, and it also gives you really good action, but even the action looks different than ITB. So Warrior's a good show. And this last episode 4 of Warrior was freaking amazing. I don't know how many of you guys saw that, but episode 4, man, was awesome. But is it Into the Badlands? No, it's different than Into the Badlands. And honestly, like, I'm at the point right now where I wouldn't even necessarily compare the two because I don't think that you can, because I think it's a little unfair, except for the fact that they're both martial arts shows and that they both have elements of drama, with Warrior having more of a heavier drama base than ITB. But I will tell you this, if you like Into the Badlands, I think that you probably could easily transition to like Warrior, but it's not going to give you kind of the same payoff, in my opinion, as Into the Badlands does. But Warrior is good, man. Like, in every episode I see, I like it more and more. The characters are very layered, so there's a lot that they can do with it. And Warrior's pretty brash in terms of how they handle subject matter of what's happening, especially with Asian Americans at that time. It cuts no cards in terms of the storytelling. So it's very powerful in its delivery, but it's not Into the Badlands. But again, having said that, I think if you like ITB and you just enjoy good martial arts action, and you enjoy kind of the Bruce Lee style of martial arts, because the Assam character in Warrior is patterned after Bruce Lee. And I will say they do some very cool things with the way that he fights and paying homage to how Bruce fought on camera as well. So, I mean, I really like Warrior. So that's my take on it. Thanks, Tom, for the super chat. Tom says, my family wants you to go full time. Man, we're trying to work it out. Jeez, we're trying to work it out. One of the things that I do want to start doing, because and I don't mind sharing this with you guys in the live chat. So I've really kind of tried to balance things, and you guys are just kind of getting a look into the Sword family. But one of the discussions that I did have with my wife, and you may or may not know, this is my first year of marriage. We're coming up on our anniversary in July. So we talked about ways to do that, but we're trying to balance things because I'm spending so much time here, really almost like maybe 20, 30 hours a week. And basically what she told me is, you guys, is she was like, I support what you're doing, and I know we're trying to position you to be able to do this full time, but I need more time as your wife. So we're trying to make it happen. And we've set up some mechanisms to do that. There's a Patreon page. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'll talk about that in another video. And some of you guys are patrons of the page, so thank you guys so much for that. So that's the thing. It's being able to cover our expenses. So I can go part-time on my job and still cover a lot of the things that I'm covering now because of how we kind of split our bills. And my job allows me to keep my insurance part-time. but the channel is still not bringing in enough money for me to supplement it like I thought we would be able to. And so that's the struggle, but we're really working on it. So thank you guys for indulging me with that. So yeah. I appreciate that, Lamar. All right, let's do it. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, man. Yeah. Happy wife, happy life, Moses. So that's true. So those are my thoughts about Warrior. So I would suggest you guys, if you're not watching it, at the very least, check it out. I mean, you do have to pay for Cinemax. It's like $9 a month. And $9 a month it could be a lot for some folks. So I certainly don't want to say whether or not it's a lot, but it is $9 a month, and I think it's pretty good. So my question to you is, what's your intention now that we're in a holding pattern really for ITB? What else is it that you guys are watching? Thanks, Mentality 120. I appreciate that. You know what? So General says Cobra Kai. Is anybody else watching Cobra Kai? Yeah, I hear you, Sam. Although I wanted MK to die, I'm not gonna lie about that. I wanted them to get it. Yeah, and I hear you about that battle with Pilgrim. You kind of wanted to see Sonny take that battle on his own. So Jim's watching God. What we want. I mean, Game of Thrones will be gone in a little bit. We got 3 more episodes of that. So some people are watching Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is on YouTube, by the way. I think if you have YouTube Premium, you can get Cobra Kai for season 2. And I think that's like $9 a month, I think. Yeah, I've heard good things about American Gods too. I've seen a few episodes of that. I've heard good things about Deadly Class also. And of course, Game of Thrones. Deadly Class, Fourth Session. Anthony says I'm lost right now. We're talking about just kind of what other shows folks are watching now that we're in this waiting pattern to see what happens with ITB. All right, a lot of people watch Cobra Kai. People watch Legion too. I watched Legion for a little bit, Garth. I just couldn't really get my head around what was going on. Doom Patrol is awesome. Yeah, Doom Patrol is really good. Okay, Snowfall is better than Better Call Saul. Okay. Yeah, I know Legion's still on. Fargo. Okay. Punisher on Netflix, Cobra. They need to make the MCU needs to bring the Punisher into the MCU. They need to make a Punisher movie, by the way. Hey, Earl, we don't know yet. I mean, the show hasn't been picked up so far. Earl's asking what the status of what's on ITB, but we're still working on it. Like we said before, I mean, now's the time to keep pushing, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So, yeah, the originals, I know a lot of people like that. I Zombie is pretty good too, actually. I'll be going back to my hole in the ground once God goes off. It takes a really good show for me to watch. So I will tell you though, just speaking of God, and guys, Black Lightning is good too, by the way. Thanks, Signy. Man, I mentioned it before, Moses. I don't know if you were here, but I will tell you that if you're a fan of that kind of fantasy, then what they're going to do with the Lord of the Rings on Amazon looks amazing. And when I say amazing, like Bezos has thrown the freaking kitchen sink at this show, and he's a big fan of the source material too. So he's not like one of these guys who make a movie that's never read the comic or never read the book, and then you look at the movie and you're like, man, this is awful, because the guys aren't familiar with the source material. Bezos is a diehard fan of the source material. So I don't know. I'm sure he's not like directly hands-on with the film, but that looks very promising. And for those of you guys who are unaware that Netflix is also working on The Witcher, I don't know how many of you have read The Witcher, but if you haven't, it is freaking awesome. And I've listened to the audiobook. I'm a big Audible fan, and man, it's the best audiobook I've ever heard. And if Netflix does The Witcher right, and I think Henry Cavill is supposed to play Geralt in that, it's going to be awesome. And I mean, it really should be very good. So for those that are Game of Thrones fans, if you're looking to transition to something like that, then you're in luck, because hopefully those two will be coming up within the next year. Maybe The Witcher, maybe a little after Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure, but we definitely will be covering that. So those are two big plays that people are trying to make, to capture that Game of Thrones audience. So keep your eyes open for that. Yeah, Vikings is good, Steve, but Vikings is off the air now, right? I think that last year was the last seasons of Vikings, unless I'm wrong. Oh, that reminds me though, since you mentioned Vikings, because Catherine Winnick, who was in Vikings, is also in what's the show coming on Netflix? Somebody remind me. We talked about this in Community before, the martial arts show with Wu Warriors, right? So that's coming on Netflix as well. So that's another show that I'm keeping my eyes open for. So I'm excited about that also. Wu Assassins, that's it. Wu Warriors was a video game. Used to have that game. So I know that Catherine Winnick is in that, and Catherine Winnick is like a legit martial artist, not like she's legit. Like she holds, I think I don't know what degree black belt, but I think it's beyond first degree, and she's won some major competitions from what I've heard as well. So she should be really good in Wu Assassins. Oh, I've seen a few episodes of Mr. Robot. Hey, has anybody seen Sword of Destiny on Netflix? Anybody seen that? Man, so guys, put this on your list. Grab a pen, write it down. If you've not seen Sword of Destiny on Netflix, make sure you watch it. It's not a series, it's a movie, but it's so good. And Kanan is in that movie. She actually plays, I think, like this, some kind of witch in that movie. That movie is awesome. Donnie Yen and some other folks in it. Man, oh man, oh man. If you appreciate ITB, you will really appreciate Sword of Destiny. So make sure you write that down and check that movie out. It is really good. And it's based off of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's a really good movie. Yeah, Lisa G says yes, it's really good. It's awesome. I guess it is the sequel to Crouching Tiger, Jinhan, the one that's on Netflix. It's really good, and I think Michelle Yeoh is in that too. It's awesome. It's really good. I don't think it's Crouching Dragon Hidden Tiger 2. I just know it's called Sword of Destiny on Netflix, but I don't think it's a sequel to the actual movie. Okay, so it is a sequel. That's what Renee's saying. Yeah, it's really good. Like I'd love to see something else about that. Yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe we'll do a review about that on the channel. It's really good. House of Flying Daggers is good too. All of those movies, man. All of those movies are great. House of Flying Daggers. What's the? I just saw one with Hero. I love Hero. I know some people don't like Hero, but I love all of those types of movies. I mean, that's one thing to kind of switch back to Into the Badlands. That's one thing that I do like about the martial arts execution of Into the Badlands. It reminds me of kind of like that classic kung fu, like the Shaw Brothers kung fu. For those of you guys who used to watch back then, my favorite Shaw Brothers movie is definitely the Five Deadly Venoms. But that style of fighting, I really like to see on screen. And it's interesting because when you look at that, and you compare that to Warrior, you do get martial arts execution, but it's not like that at all. It's much more grounded, for the lack of a better word, than what you see in Into the Badlands. Warrior is much more grounded than what you see in Into the Badlands. But I like that type of fight choreography that we get from ITB. Is Crouching Tiger 3 Sword of Destiny? Is that what it is? Oh, I didn't know it was Crouching Tiger 3 Sword of Destiny. I always just saw Sword of Destiny. All right, so guys, this is a question from Jen Han. Remember, I was telling you Jen's doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, so I want to read this to make sure everybody gets it. It says, okay, I just want to find out from ITB fans, how do fans feel about how the continuation of ITB progresses? Are people fine with the different platforms, movie, or are they fine with animated series or comics? So, okay, so sorry, because that was kind of choppy in the way that I read it, but it sounds like Jen's asking, how do you guys feel about what happens with the show moving forward in terms of what format? Or would you be cool with a movie? Would you be cool with a comic? I think there was even some talk about an animation. Just curious about what you guys would like to see from that. Hopefully I'm capturing that right, Jen. So Steve says he doesn't want an animated comic or an animated show or the comic. I'm kind of, that's where I am too. I feel like I think all those things will be fine, but nothing's going to replace what we've actually gotten in terms of the live action and the connection we've gotten with the characters. So I would say show too. So I agree with you, Steve. And it sounds like Lamar is saying the same thing. He just wants Badlands. Lucas, movie or TV, only way to go. That guy, movie or television series, live action, movie or show. All right. So hopefully you're catching this, Jen Han. Getting some thoughts coming in. I don't know. Tough to go from live action to animation. I agree, Renee. The other way around would work, but the action, yeah, that's where it's at. I agree. Anime style, I'd be fine with, as long as, yeah, he used the same actors, voice actors. Angela says, I think we all want more show, but I'm waiting for the news. I'm going to support what comes out. Yeah, I think that's true too. I would agree with that. I mean, I would definitely want to see the live action show, but I actually would support whatever came out, just because I'm just such a fan of the show, period. But I don't think that anything will replace the live action. I don't think it would be the same. Although now that I think about it, and animation might be all right. It depends on, they really have to execute the animation well, and the voice actors would have to be the actors from the show. But it still wouldn't quite be the same. So Moses, it looks like you disagree with that. It looks like you're saying you feel like that'd be going backwards. So I agree with what Renee just said, that they ended the show really well. I guess what really frustrates me about, no matter really honestly how they ended it at this point, and I do think that they did a good job kind of landing the plane with season 3, but I feel like there's so much more story to tell. there's so much more that can be said, and I'm wondering if they even did some reshoots to finish season 3. I don't know, because it seems like, I know that Sherman was saying in an interview that we were going to meet some more characters, and I don't know who those characters would be, besides maybe Eli. I don't know who it would be after Eli, if not Eli and Magnus. Those are really only the two big names. So I say all that to say, I feel like there was more coming, and we just didn't get to see it. So there's so much that you can do with this show. So to see it go is still heartbreaking, even though I do think that this last episode was a good wrap of things. So. Who was Mercy, Angela? Did I miss Mercy? So Jen saying live action would be my preference, but personally, I'd be fine with them doing an ITV animated series with original voice actors, OG voice actors, if live action wasn't available. Yeah, I think an animation actually could work if it was executed well, and you'd have to have the original actors to do the voiceovers. I agree. Yeah, it did. It did. Lucas Marriott was saying a bit between the Master and Sonny felt like a Dragon Ball throwback. I agree. There's a lot of nods to other stuff in this movie that you guys heard Sherman and Daniel talk about this too, but kind of like when they're all walking up, looking over the hill at the Black Lotus Formation, that Magnificent Seven theme, which incidentally, if you've seen the movie, the Western Magnificent Seven, almost all of them died except for, I think, 2. Angela said, I call that the Master Obi-Wan. Oh, hey guys, I'm curious about this too. How do you guys feel that Quinn would have fit in the show had he not gone out in season 2? Do you think Quinn would have fit in season 3, or do you feel like his character would have been a bit out of place? I'm just curious about that. So Renee says that she thinks that Quinn probably could have worked. She was surprised that he died. All right, Baptist 72. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. She says, I love that the widow got her gift back after MK stabbed Tilda. It was also awesome to see the Master, Ida, and Sonny talk about him coming back to life. Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. I'm glad that the widow went off on MK. And I'm glad that they did it in the fashion that they did. I mean, they got her Darth Vader style. So I'm glad she did. I'm glad MK got it. I listen, I know that there's some folks in the chat. MK is your guy. I say that all the time, but I was done. So I'm glad that he got what he got. And I felt like he was too far gone. And some of you guys said that. I thought that maybe there was some redemption for him. And I thought maybe when he dropped the weapon with Tilda, I thought, well, maybe here's a turning point. But I guess the widow decided, no, for what you did, you're going to get it. So I was actually glad to see him get it personally. And it was cool to see the scene with Sonny and the Master. And I thought Sonny would really just kind of crossed over. I was surprised by that line where the Master was like, this is the world in between. And then we get the explanation of what we saw with his gift and how the gift right then and there was mending itself. So I thought that was fascinating. That was very cool. So you know what? To get back to Quinn. So here's the thing about Quinn. So here's some of the comments that's coming in with Quinn. Um, Quinn was such a strong character. I agree, man. He was. I mean, Martin was. Man, he really did an awesome job with Quinn. I liked him in Lord of the Rings too. You guys know I'm a sucker for fantasy. Love Lord of the Rings, the movies. He was in that as well. I think he was in The Equalizer too with Denzel Washington. I believe that was him. You know what? So here's the thing about Quinn. Quinn would have gotten himself killed in season 3 because he would have jumped out there. He would not have been able to restrain himself with Pilgrim, and I'm thoroughly convinced that Quinn would have gotten himself killed. That's really what I think. I've never seen Defiance, Garth, but I've heard actually that it's pretty good. You might be right. Angela says that Pilgrim wouldn't have had time for Quinn's mess, but you know that Quinn wouldn't have let that go. If Quinn felt like he wanted an audience from Pilgrim and Pilgrim was not granting that audience, Quinn would have ran up there and got himself killed, probably. Oh, Garth is saying Defiance, I think, is on the Sci-Fi Channel. Just FYI. Did you catch that? Oh, Garth, you asked a question about Defiance. I don't know, Brent. We're still pushing for season 4. That's where we are right now. There's nothing that's been definitive said as to whether or not season 4 is coming back out, but we're still pushing for it. I mean, they certainly left the show open, so I think everybody would agree with that. It's left open so that it can move forward. And when you think about it, it's left open, and all of our major players are still in the narrative. It looks like Tilda's going to pull through. So we could keep it going. And we've gotten some interesting bad people that have transitioned as well, with Cressida getting away. I still wanted to see her get it, but I think it's significant that she actually does get away. Yeah, that makes sense, Moses. I wonder what happened to Quinn's character. I wonder why he left the show. I wonder if he was working on some other things. I agree, Alex, man. It is. It's kind of the beginning of a new chapter. But at the same time, it ends. I think that's true. Like there's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of fresh things you can do if you pick up the show and move forward. And you haven't lost anything. I mean, you've lost Pilgrim, but I think we all kind of knew at one point in time he was going to transition out of the show. And we knew that we were going to get different players. As a matter of fact, Sherman even talks about some of the things that were potentially coming for some of the episodes to come that we're just not going to see now. As the world opens up, he was saying we're going to meet more people. There are bigger threats looming on the horizon. We don't get to see any of that. So there's a whole bunch of material here to be explored, a whole bunch of story left to tell. I mean, we've gotten that set up with knowing that there are other sects of the Black Lotus in different places. There are still other dark ones. It wasn't like when Pilgrim was executed, it ended all the dark ones in the land. So there's still a lot of story to tell. Now you have firearms introduced into it. There's a lot that can be done still with ITB. So Jen, it looks like you mentioned something about Conan, about them making a Conan show. Wait. It's supposed to be. Yeah, so that's true too. So that's another good point. So Jen Han brought this up. You guys heard me talk about them creating The Witcher for Netflix and them also working on the Lord of the Rings series for Amazon. But I've heard Conan is coming out as well. I heard that they're making a Dune. If you're a fan of that, there's a lot of big series coming out. Again, everybody trying to capture that Game of Thrones audience, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with HBO because probably most of us, when Game of Thrones goes, we're cutting our HBO. So, oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And Sigby mentioned Thundercats as well. They're working on that too. So, wow. Wow, wow, wow. There's a lot on the horizon. I totally forgot about that. I wish HBO would pick up Badlands. I tell you what, if HBO did pick up Badlands, it would certainly have the budget. I'm curious to see how HBO is going to fill that gap for Game of Thrones. That's a big, big gap for them. Yeah, we were able to see the widow do her thing, man. Finally see her go dark. I knew that. Like I knew the widow was going to get her gift back. And I know that we saw that in previews as well. But I feel like the fan base would have went totally nuts if she did not get her gift back. I still feel like really it seems like outside of a lot of us here that some people are upset that Sonny didn't get his gift back in the fashion that we've seen the widow get her gift back. Like some people wanted to see Sonny get his gift back when fighting Pilgrim and to really see some crazy martial arts execution. I know that there is a probably a pretty sizable part of the fan base out there that was not happy about the way that Sonny's gift came across. Angela. Oh, Dan said he wants Aegon's Conquest. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about them producing that. Westworld is really good. You're right. So Sigby said he was sad that Sonny didn't get the gift, but also where they left it opens at least um, the doors to pick up. Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, really, that for me, Sigby, that was the thing. Like, because I really wanted to see Sonny go dark and go off too, but I felt like they left the door open for us to really find out a lot more about his gift and how that whole thing might be developed. What I think is also interesting about the dark gift is I feel like with what we've learned now, coming from seasons 1 through 3, like the dark gift is not a good thing. I mean, it does not do well for people. It corrodes them. I mean, I mean, I know this sounds like so bad because I use this analogy all the time. It's like the ring from the Lord of the Rings. You cannot wear the ring without being corrupted. And I feel like to some extent the dark gift is like that. If you exercise it long enough, it is going to corrupt you. Yeah, Journey. One Journey said he loves the Badlands. Man, we all do, man. It's a sad day. It's crazy too because I remember thinking like I felt butterflies before the last episode aired. I felt kind of like hollow, like man, this is the last episode on AMC. So Titans is good too, Sigby. If you have that DC streaming, Titans is good. Yeah, I think they I think they are making another series, Garth, for The Walking Dead. Yeah, man. But I mean, there's got to be some profit in it because they wouldn't keep it going if there wasn't any money in it. Trust me. What's he? Yeah, I do remember that, Jinhan. He's talking about the writers took kind of a safe route with Sonny's gift, recalling when Kanan said, "If I lock the gift completely, that it will kill you." Also, incidentally, too, you guys, I want to mention this. Some people are mad about the break that that Disney has made from Netflix, but you know that Disney, of course, is going to start its own streaming service. It's going to have a lot of Marvel content on that. A lot of things coming out on that looks super interesting. So if you're a comic book movie fan or a comic book fan, man, I'm really looking forward to what's going on with that. There's a lot of spinoffs, as a matter of fact, from the MCU happening on that streaming platform as well. So it should be pretty cool to see all that they do with that over there. Yep. Yep. Shang-Chi is coming. So that should be really good too. And I'm happy to see. I've said this before that Marvel is really diversifying. I know that the Kevin Feige said that they're looking forward to that movie, and he should be the first Asian to star in a major motion picture as a comic book hero. So that should be really good too. One thing I'm telling you, one thing that's really exciting about where we are in the MCU right now in terms of superhero movies, it's wide open. You can bring in at this point whoever you want. You got time travel and you already got super powerful heroes in the MCU. So you guys may have seen it, or maybe you haven't seen it, but I made a pitch for Blue Marvel to become or to be part of the MCU. It's a relatively new comic book character, but some people say, well, how could you put him in? He's just too powerful for the MCU. At this point, they can put anybody in the MCU. It's wide open for them to do whatever they want. So I'm excited about that. So I'm excited about the Shang-Chi movie that's coming as well. I did catch that, Sigby. Most people probably seen it by now, so you're okay. You said spoilers. Sorry. I don't know. That's a good question, Jinhan, about some of those some of the R-rated stronger content properties going to Hulu. I don't know if they'll do a Blade. Hopefully they do a Blade. Blade is actually really the kickoff of the, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but really the first Marvel movie that was a major motion picture was Blade. So Cloak and Dagger. Is Cloak and Dagger still on Freeform? I think it's still on Freeform. I like Cloak and Dagger. I liked them as a kid too. Yeah, I like Snipes' Blade too. Matter of fact, they were talking about getting John Bayorga to Bayorga, I always mispronounce that last name, to possibly play Blade. And I remember saying this to Sherman Augustus, I think during our interview. Um, And at the time, I think Sherman said that they actually approached him about maybe doing that character. But before I knew that, I had mentioned to Sherman, I said, if anybody's going to play Blade, you have to allow Wesley to turn that role down first. And it turns out that Sherman and Wesley are friends, but you have to let him play that role first, just because, I mean, he made it what it was. I can't see you offering that role to anybody else but him first. Don't even get me started on the travesty of the Blade TV series. Yeah, starring Sticky Fingers. All right, guys. So I am getting ready to wrap up. A couple of things that I wanted to mention to you guys before we go. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. I'm sorry for being all over the place, but this was super fun to be able to get into this last episode with you. Let me just kind of give you my plans from here on out since you're here. We'll still do. I'm still going to do some Badlands content, but this will be kind of looking back at some of the things, and then just kind of some videos around some of the characters or some of the fight choreography. I'm definitely going to do some more ranking videos for some of the fights now that we've gotten all that we've gotten so far from AMC. But I am going to start doing like a lot more live content as well. That's kind of one of the compromises that my wife and I came to, doing live content, because the live content doesn't take the prep. It doesn't take the editing, and the editing is what kills you in time when you're doing these videos. So look forward to that as well. And we'll probably do that now on Tuesdays, because there are no new episodes of ITB coming out. So we'll be doing some live stuff around, maybe again, some more stuff around ITB, definitely looking at what's coming down the pike for a lot of the big series coming out on the different streaming platforms and all that kind of good stuff. And we'll be tracking Lord of the Rings and The Witcher and all that other kind of good stuff coming out too. And definitely a lot of the stuff that's going on with Marvel. And of course, you do have your normal movie reviews that's coming out. John Wick, man. John Wick. If John Wick Parabellum is as good as I think it's going to be, I'm going on record right now for saying that will be the best action movie franchise ever made. And I know that's a big statement. So I will be checking that out this week or next week as well. I am going to check out Aladdin. I don't know how excited I am. Maybe it'll be better than what I think. But there's a couple of things coming out, big action movies coming out that I'll be checking out as well. So, all right, guys. Thanks, man. This was fun, man. Like this was really cool. Again, I feel like we were a bit all over the place. This is my second live stream, but this is what I love, right? Like I wish I could just do live streams, because it's so cool to hang out with the audience, man, and just have a discussion is what I really like. So we definitely will be doing more of that. That is, like I said, the happy compromise that my wife and I came to, and that will cut down on some of the time with me being in the room editing stuff. So, yep. Oh, that is true. With the live stream, you can get the super chats. That is very true. All right, guys, I am going to go to bed. I'm going to eat this chicken. Now, listen, let's keep this between you and I. Now, my wife is working right now, and she likely will not see this video. So I got a little bit of chicken, which I'm going to partake of after I get off. But let's keep that between you and I. All right? All right, guys, thanks so much. I will see you again. I will also, two things. Look for the video about what's going on next in terms of what's happening with the show. And I will make sure to keep you guys filled in with every step of whatever information I hear about what the next steps are for the show. I am going to post the Warrior video tomorrow, talking about episode 4. So I do want to encourage you, though, if you're able to see Warrior on Cinemax, it is a very, very good show. I think you guys will appreciate it, especially now that we've gotten past episode 4. It's really good. A lot of good stuff going on in Warrior. So I think you guys will really enjoy it. All right, folks, I'm out. Peace. Ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.